Welcome to the Winging It Travel Podcast, a show dedicated to travel. Tune in each Monday to hear captivating stories from some of the world's most travelled people, die-hard backpackers, travel professionals, and inspiring explorers. Let's get stuck in. Hello and welcome to this week's solo episode. And this is in two parts this week. We're going to do my week in Portland, which included TravelCon and a long weekend seeing the sights. So I've got some tips and tricks for you there. And the second half was more story-based on what it's like for us to travel to the European Championships in honour of Euro 2024 in Germany as an England fan. So some interesting points of view there. So let's get stuck in. Now, TravelCon was a fantastic event. This is a 3-day event that's hosted originally by Nomadic Matt. He doesn't own it now. And they have travel professionals coming over to speak about how they monetize their business, how they blog, how they get their YouTube, their podcasts, content going, social media, stuff like that. All about making connections, learning some new stuff, and trying to implement them all into your own business. This was my first ever event as a podcaster for this podcast and also as a YouTuber for Roaming with Hamo. And I thought it actually went really well. And what I learned was that there are so many people who think a bit like me in terms of how to travel, how to document travels, how to navigate the areas of social media and content creation, how to possibly monetize, and also the same kind of feel with the same kind of people, which is quite rare for me because it can be a bit of a lonely business when you're speaking into the mic yourself, like I'm doing now. I had the most brilliant week meeting amazing people, hung out for lunches after the event, went for drinks, went for dinner, had a great leaving drinks afterwards as well on the Friday, and I just felt that I found my people, made some new friends, learned a lot about different facets of content creation, including podcasting, and I got some contacts there to go forward with. So more to come on that, I imagine, in the future. Thanks to TravelCon for putting the event on, and also thanks to all the speakers who came on and inspired so many of us with their travel stories, their content creation stories, their journey from the early days to now, some hot tips and tricks. Could be anything from blogging to video creation. Learned a lot to implement, lots of potential collaborations. I'm excited to see what happens for the rest of 2024 going into 2025. And no doubt I'll be back there next year in Tucson. Right, let's crack on with a long weekend in Portland, and I'm going to divide it up into various sections for you. And to kick off accommodation, I've got 2 recommendations for you here. I actually stayed at Hotel Lucia, which is in downtown. And I don't normally stay in hotels, but the event was having a few events after the event in hotels around the downtown area. And I thought we'd best to stay around there because the actual event was in the convention centre, and I'll come to that in a second. But Hotel Lucia, a boutique-based hotel located in the heart of downtown. It's renowned for its stylish design, exceptional service, vibrant atmosphere. You get free drinks like coffee, tea, squash, and you get an alcoholic drink in the evening. Complimentary on the hotel. They have room service at any point that you want. They don't serve breakfast, and they don't have any eating facilities in the evening. However, great location, great service, and reasonable prices. Now, on the side of the convention centre, which is over the water from downtown, they do have a few places to stay over there. And my recommendation for that side is the Kex Hostel. Now, you might know the name from Iceland in Reykjavik, and I've stayed in one of those back in the day, over 10 years ago now. And a few people from the event were staying there, and they were saying it has like a free sauna, so a nice little room to hang out with your mates. They have a nice little dining area downstairs and a common area, spacious. The rooms are reasonably priced, and it is walking distance to the Max Light Rail, which is their equivalent of a metro, which is about a 20-minute walk from there. So not a bad couple of recommendations for accommodation. Let's get on to coffee. You know it's a favourite of mine. I've got 3 here that are my favourites, maybe a 4th. We'll see how I get on in this list. Number 1 is a place called Flower Bloom. This is actually near the Kex Hostel that I mentioned a minute ago. And it's like a charming, cozy cafe. It's got like a 60s, 70s vibe to it. Great coffee, spacious, lots of seating, and the staff are really, really cool in there. And they have loads of cake options as well. Great coffee and great vibes in there. Number 2 is a bit of a favourite of ours in the Northwest Pacific coast, and that is Stumptown Coffee Roasters. They're based in Portland, and they're renowned for their roasting of amazing coffee. Exceptional coffee beans, commitment to sustainability is a huge part of it as well, and an influential role in the specialty coffee movement. It's just a favourite of ours, and to go to their flagship store in Portland's pretty cool, so you must go and taste coffee there. Number 3 is Itinerary Bakery. There's actually 2 of these, one in downtown and one in Northwest 23rd Avenue. And the reason I know this is good, because I had a coffee and I had a pastry from there because they're French style. And when I got to the event for one of the days, one of the attendees was a local from Portland, saw my little bag with the pastry inside and said, oh yeah, that is the best pastry in Portland. And the coffee was damn good too. So this must be a recommendation if you want a bit of a croissant and a coffee. My 4th bonus cafe for coffee is Cafe Umbria. I think they're based in Seattle, but they have a few in Portland downtown area. Great coffee. And we love sitting outside, so you can sit out there with your dog and enjoy the weather and the coffee. I've got 3 food recommendations for you. Nothing groundbreaking here, but I did experience all of them and they're bloody awesome. Gonna go with a brunch first. Cheryl's on 12th in downtown. I don't think that can be beaten. We actually went to another one called the Daily Feast, which was good as well. So that's a bonus one for you for brunch. But Cheryl's on 12th does lunch, breakfast, great service, great food. You get free fried dough balls with your breakfast. Just unbelievable value all round, and it is a must. Next up for a snack, no surprises. Anthony Bourdain went there. It's Voodoo Donut. If you love donuts, this place is iconic. Big queues. I recommend going at 3:30 p.m. to 4 p.m, that weird time between sort of like a late lunch and a dinner. No queue there, and an absolute plethora of options. And for bonus snack, if you want ice cream, you can go to Salt and Straw in 23rd Avenue, which is unbelievable. Vegan options too. We enjoyed it. The last one in this section is a dinner recommendation. It's a Vietnamese restaurant called Look Lac, and they are based in downtown. And my word, I had it twice, and I could not believe what I was tasting the first time round. So the second time, I was absolutely buzzing. It's quick service, it's busy, it's popular, it's big portions, and very reasonable priced. So you have to go there. I got the lemongrass curry twice, and it was chicken, and it was unbelievable. The meat was slow cooked. My word, gotta go. Right, that's enough about food and drink. Let's get to the attractions that you might be thinking of visiting. So I've got 6 here, maybe 7 if a bonus one comes to mind, but these are the main ones that we've been to. And number 1 is Washington Park. This is a city-based park, and you can walk from downtown about half an hour to 45 minutes. It's a bit of a walk. You can get the train or the bus towards the park, actually to the top of it, or close to it, then walk up. And in there, there's 2 things to see. There's an International Rose Test Garden alongside the Portland Japanese Garden. So a lot of flowers, rose varieties, so picturesque in sunshine. You won't believe the colours that you'll see. And it has beautiful views of the city. The second thing to see there is the amphitheatre. If you take a bit of lunch, you can go and sit there. They actually hold events there as well. Just enjoy the view, enjoy the grass, enjoy the sunshine, hang out with friends, and just enjoy the spectacular surroundings. Number 2 is Powell's City of Books. It's located in the heart of downtown, and it's iconic and sprawling. They think they've got roughly around 1 million books in this place, and it's a beloved landmark for both locals and visitors. Often referred to the largest independent bookstore in the world. It's a must if you love books, and they've got rare books spread across different rooms, multiple floors. I think it's 9 coloured rooms in there. They've even got a cafe downstairs. It's just an absolutely huge building full of books. Every genre you can think of, both new and used books. Just a generally good vibe. People love being in there. It's a kind of a positive thing to go and see in Portland. Portland is also known for its different areas to visit, not just downtown. So we visited for the second time Northwest 23rd Avenue, often referred to as the trendy third. It's one of the most vibrant and popular streets located in Northwest districts, and I've mentioned a few things there before already. So Salt and Straw is down there. It's quite close to Washington Park, and it's got like charming tree-lined avenues, those buildings that you get in the East Coast, those sort of Arcadia feel vibes. And it's got lots of boutique restaurants, cafes, shops, historic architecture, and it's a favourite destination for a lot of people. And for us, we got the bus number 15 from downtown. You can get a tram that goes straight onto the north end of the street, and we walked all the way down, went for lunch there at a really interesting named place called Henry Higgins Boiled Bagels. Got to give it a chance. Just love going for coffee, hanging around the street, lots of independent shops, that kind of feel. Souvenir shops as well, if you're looking to buy some souvenirs. Just a real more local vibe, rather than the downtown, which is like the business area. Okay, number 4, I think. If you happen to be there on a Saturday, Portland Saturday Market is a vibrant and bustling open-air market located in the old town, sort of near Chinatown, if you like. Near the waterfront, you can walk there along the water, quite nice. And it goes from March through to December. Lots of quirky stalls, lots of food and drink as well. We bought a really nice pack of cards which had the whole Oregon coast on each one of the cards. So each card is unique. And they are hand designed. They're from a photographer's son to an artist dad. Real nice combo. So that sort of stuff you can find there. Number 5 is the Pearl District, one of Portland's most dynamic and trendy neighborhoods, if you like. It's got that mix of industrial history and modernization. So a bit like the Meatpacking District in Copenhagen, if you've been there. So lots of history, arts, museums, culture stuff, urban living, cafes, restaurants, good coffee. I'd advise maybe visiting during the day and night to get a different perspective and different feel for the area. But all in all, love the vibe, love the community, and so many options to see and do there. Okay, number 6 is one of my favourite things to do in Portland, and that's the Portland Aerial Tram, because I love cable cars and views. It's quite unique and iconic to the locals in Portland. The cable car actually goes from the waterfront up to the Oregon Health and Science University campus, with the hospital up there as well. So it's going to cost you $8 return. Quite steep because you'll only be up there for 30 minutes. It's quite a weird thing. You go up there, get off your cable car, and you're in amongst it with patients at the hospital. But if you go around to the right, there's a nice lookout platform, and make sure you bring your camera, as you'll get stunning views of Portland. When you reach the top, you can see for absolutely miles into the Oregon state. It really is awesome. I wouldn't advise going on the cable car if you're not very comfortable with it. It does shake around a little bit and sort of jiggles, but I'm totally fine with that. And when you get to the top, I promise you, the views are stunning. I do have 3 attractions that I've not visited yet, so we'll have to do these when I go back to Portland. And that is Pittock Mansion, which is near the Washington Park area. The Multnomah Falls, which is the most famous waterfall in Oregon, and one of the tallest in the US. I think it's got 620 feet height. And lastly is Forest Park, which is one of the largest urban forests in the US. Lots of hiking trails through there, lush greenery, scenic landscapes, etc. To finish on Portland, I've got some essential tips for you, such as transport and maybe eSIM or SIM card providers. Transport, Portland's got great links. So they have the Max Light Rail, the Portland Streetcar, the TriMet buses, and the aerial tram I just mentioned. And they all can be used with your debit or credit card, so it's super easy. No need to buy another card and top that up. You just tap on, and that is it. So it's awesome. And the best thing about the transport is you can get the Max Light Rail from the airport into downtown Portland, or connections to other parts of the city. So awesome transport links. In terms of eSIM or SIM cards, they do have the usual there, like Verizon Wireless, AT&T. I actually use an eSIM by GigSky, who are one of the best out there for coverage. You can actually hit a link in my show notes if you want to tap that and get a competitive rate on your eSIM. And they give like quite good perks. So they give you a free use of 100 megabytes in an emergency, so you don't need internet to top up. They also give you free access to the app to top up. So even if you run out of your 100 megabytes emergency internet, you can still use the app without internet. You just need coverage. So basically be in the city and you'll be fine. And finally, awesome coverage. Not bad. And what a difference 5 years make. It's been 5 years since I visited Portland in 2019, pre-COVID, and we all know how those days are different to now. But I absolutely love the city. I love the quirky vibe. I love all the things you can see and do there. I love the coffee. I love the food. There's a craft beer scene I've not even mentioned in this podcast. We did go to one called The Shoots in the evening for a bit of a beer and some food. Bustling with people. Great vibe in there. They also have decent sport options. So I went to watch the Portland Trailblazers in 2019, the NBA team. And it's one of the cheapest places to get tickets because the team's not very good. So if you want to go see some people like Steph Curry, LeBron James, it's probably a good place to go and see those guys. The best thing about this city is the locals. They are honest. They love their city. It's just a sense of community. They do have its problems, but they stick together, help each other out, and try to fix the city's problems. And I just want to say, what a place. If you're looking for that unusual, unique American city, not like all the big ones that are kind of similar, like Chicago, New York, LA, they all got their quirks, I know, but they're quite similar, big, bustling. Portland's definitely different, and it's definitely one of those places that you can go to and be like, oh wow, I did not expect this. And overall, it does have my heart a little bit. I do love the place, and I'll never say no to return to Portland, and hopefully I'll get there next year. Just a couple of things from me. Please head to my new website, www.wingingittravelpodcast.com. The link is in the show notes. And secondly, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'm really enjoying showing you my content I have from the last year or so. Thank you. Right, let's move on to the Euros and a bit of sports travel stories for you to end the episode. In honour of Euro 2024 in Germany, as you know, I'm from UK in England, and football is pretty big sport there, and it's all I pretty much was interested in up until the age of 13, and a bit of music came into that. It's just always there, can't let it go. Over the years, I probably got less interested in club football, but more interested in international football, because I like the part of being every 4 years. So I've been to a few tournaments back in the day. I've been to Euro 2012 in Ukraine. I've talked about that in another episode before. I've been to the World Cup in Brazil in 2014, based in Rio. And I went to the European Championships in Paris in France in 2016. And I thought I'd tell a few stories from that latest one in 2016. Not really discussed it much in the podcast. There's an iconic day in our group. There's about 15 of us that went, huge group, got an apartment in the middle of Paris, somehow survived there. We just about all fitted in. And there's an iconic day that was for Lens, the city quite close to Paris. We had to get the train there, and it's a double-header day. So we had the England-Wales game in the sort of early afternoon, and then we were back to Paris for another game, which was Germany-Poland. Now, first off, when you're at England games as an England fan, there's generically drink going to be involved. It's just part of the course, really. You don't have to drink, I'm not saying that, but England fans tend to congregate in pubs, drink 6% lagers, and go for it. Being very young at the time, 27, this is the plan for that day. The problem started is you start drinking on the train. Not great. I can't really handle my drink that well anyway. And as we approach Lens, everyone's in good spirits. We're playing Wales, so there's that sort of community-based drinking, if you like. There's no rivalry there. We're just having chats and laughs with the Welsh fans. And Lens was kind of taken over by these two groups. Now, we found this bar, drinking these 6% beers at 11 a.m. Not good. And it went really downhill probably after the third or fourth beer. Now, a couple of stories that come from that. I remember walking to the stadium, and there's this hill that goes up to the Lens football stadium. And it's like a muddy hill, but it's in the summer, so it hasn't rained. It's just a dry, muddy hill, but it's quite steep. And there are some fans giving it a go to try and run up this hill. And, a few beers in, why not? Let's give it a go. And there's quite a lot of people watching me do this. There's random fans, my own friends. And I tried to attempt to run up this hill in shorts and flip-flops, if you like. Well, I guess they're kind of more like plimsolls. And I got about 3/4 of the way there and absolutely stacked it and slid on my arse all the way back down. And as you know, people were seeing that, all cheering and laughing at me as I do that. A little bit embarrassing, a little bit funny, found it a laugh, a bit boozed up, so I don't remember too much about that. And then as I approached the stadium, I lost my friends who I had tickets with. There's 4 of us sitting in the same seats. They're already there. And as you approach the stadium, you go left or right. And I thought, do you know what? I'll go right and try and find the right area for my ticket. I went on and on and on and on until I literally got round to where I started, and it's just by, if I went left, it would have been there. So I spent 10-20 minutes running around trying to get there for kickoff. Finally made it just as the national anthems had been sung, and then that game was a tragic game, really. England are awful in those times, but we did win 2-1 in the last second of the game. Quite iconic that we had to win to keep in the Euros, and I remember the goal very clearly. Now, the day carries on. So England fans are buzzing, and we're on the train back to Paris. Now, in Paris in 2016 for the Euros, they can't really organise it that well. There's always been problems with organisation, transport, and people just sitting in trains without tickets or sitting in people's seats. It's absolute carnage. But I was absolutely hanging from the day already, and this is early afternoon. Got on the train, started to feel a bit, don't feel too good. Went to the toilet. Fell asleep on the toilet, not great. Someone banged the door, had to where am I? I'm on a train. Oh, right, okay, go back to Paris. Carried on drinking when I got back to Paris, went to the stadium. Not proud of any of this. You go along, your mates are there, you're drinking, you can't handle a drink, you don't have much food. got to the game at the arena in Paris for Germany-Poland. An absolutely dull game, 0-0, nothing happening. But unfortunately in this game, I was just absolutely done in. I was falling asleep. I happened to be sick in a cup. I wasn't drinking. I think I probably got a Coke in at that point, but starting to feel not too well. I think a family saw me do that as well and went and moved seats. Don't blame them. That's awful to see. Bit gross, really. So these some of the stories that you kind of hear or read about online for England fans. And England fans don't have the best reputation going abroad at sporting events, and it is a bit of a curse, and I don't like it either. I totally get it, because some of the songs that they sing are horrendous, and also I don't like antagonising local people or opposition fans. I'd rather be a bit more camaraderie, having a laugh with the opposition fans, which does happen, don't get me wrong, but there are an element of the fan base that do let people down. So the Euros was an interesting one. That was a Lons day, as we call it, and I don't know how I made it through that day. But these sort of events are quite strange and unique, really. You kind of feel part of something when you're there. In the grand scheme of things, it's just sport and a few games of football. It doesn't really mean anything, but a lot of people take it seriously. A lot of money is made, a lot of money is spent on these events, and I spent a heck of a lot of money on sporting events over my time. But for an example, when we're on the train from London to Paris, you'd be sitting there and you get the classic ticket touts that come and sell you tickets, right? They shouldn't really have them, but they've got loads of tickets, and you don't know if they're genuine or making it up. And as we're sitting there going to Paris, this guy comes over and says, hey, look, I've got 4 tickets for the opening game of the Euros in France, and it's France, the host nation, against Romania. You can see our group kind of weighing this up, and I think a few went in there quickly and said, yeah. I think 2 went in there and said, yeah, we'll have them. And then my mind was weighing it up, like, what do you do? Do you risk it? He's offering very good money for these tickets, maybe like, I don't know, 60, 70 euros. They're probably double that face value. So that was shocking to get rid of them. I thought, do you know what? Let's absolutely risk this. And I said yes. I was the 4th person to say yes, and my friend was then going to say yes, so he missed out. So we took the tickets and we're like, okay, let's just see what happens. If we get to the gates and they don't work, okay, we've been scammed, so be it, we'll take the hit. Got to the gates, scanned the ticket, and we're absolutely celebrating as we go through. We're in the stadium for the opening ceremony, and we go to see France play against Romania, and we saw Olivier Giroud with one of the worst performances from a striker ever. He missed about 10 chances, but what an atmosphere. I think David Guetta was pressing a couple of keys just to get the crowd going, but realistically, just put a USB stick in and press play, right? A good opening ceremony, enjoyed it. Yeah, just one of those sort of things that happens when you're at tournaments, really. And I think you sort of become also known in your little local area. So we're staying in an area of Paris called Les Halles, and there's a bar downstairs called Bar Les Halles. And we're like, oh, do you know what? Let's make that our local. And when you start to go in there regularly and you're just well behaved and you try and speak with the locals, be good natured, obviously spend some money in there. The bar owner loves us coming in. So every time we're not at games or in another place in France, we're in there watching the games, enjoying ourselves. And you're actually contributing there to local business and community there, which kind of gets you in the good books, and you kind of get like photos at the end, but people know who you are because you're the designated England fans, if you like, and you're kind of all right for England fans. You're not morons like some of them are. So yeah, we kind of got along really well with the French owners and the French bar staff there, and also with the locals. So that's kind of a nice little thing about these tournaments as well. So my advice for anyone who does these tournaments in the first 2 or 3 weeks, what normally happens is you get 2 or 3 games a day. And what I would say is base yourself somewhere in a city and apply for as many tickets as possible, not just for your own team. Because how awesome is it? You're literally going from train to city, seeing these different games, meeting these different types of people, different fans, a bit of travel and sport mixed in, because you might go to Lons for the day, like I mentioned. When we were in Paris, went to Marseille, went to Saint Etienne. Granted, we didn't see that much of those places, but you are going somewhere new. So that's a travel aspect. You're on the train system in France, which is really good. First class trains, I think we treated ourselves. So you get your own tables, a bit of service, nice food and drink, makes it nice and easy to get across different cities across the country. I love that feel of, I guess, purpose and travel. So you go to one city because you've got to watch that game. This is the same for like even watching the cricket that went to Australia. You've got 3 or 4 cities you're probably going to be based in for a week. You're going to see some stuff around those cities, but also going to watch a game. There's a purpose and a structure to it, which is quite nice, because sometimes you can amble about when you travel or decide on the day and not have too much direction. But this is full on direction, pretty much fully planned, and also you have a bit of a project or a bit of a feel that you're part of something, which is quite rare. and these sporting events happen, you're in amongst it. You go nuts for goals that go your way. You're devastated when goals go against you. Inevitably, you probably get knocked out. But for those 2.5 weeks, you have a bit of hope, a bit of fun. You meet some new people. You meet some locals. You have a good time responsibly, and you see some stuff in a new country with a bit of travel aspect to it as well. All in all, sports travel is great. I absolutely love it. And to finish with one story, this is the weirdest, like half scary, half funny story. It's kind of known as Battle of Marseille, but in 2016 we were drawn against Russia, so we went to Marseille to go and watch the game. Got the train down there, very nice. Now we heard about all potential troubles that could happen, and we actually went to a fan park which was designed, what I would say, for the normal fans, and it was quite nice and spacious and big, and we got some beers in, had some screens, some entertainment, good vibe in there. And I think we walked past a pub that had maybe the troublesome England fans, if you like. But basically, throughout the day, Russian fans and England fans have been clashing. And we kind of missed it all, part by chance and a bit of nous about walking to the game. But as we walked to the game, towards the stadium, there's this tear gas in the air. Walked past some police, and this German shepherd jumped up at me, scratched my arm twice. Happened to be twice in about 2 minutes. Couldn't believe what's going on. Absolutely petrified. So as we approached this area, which looked like a war zone, if I'm honest, like chairs everywhere, just crap everywhere, the water cannon's been used, so there's water on the floor. We're like, what on earth has gone on here? And we're like, God, are we going to survive getting into the stadium? And there's rumours that there's like weapons going into the stadium, and the French weren't doing nothing about it, and the French police were staying outside, not in the stadium. That was definitely true. But in amongst all this chaos, there's this roundabout where it's obviously what happened, and there's a guy standing on the roundabout, and we're like, I think we recognise him. There's this guy called Tom, and we met Tom 2 years earlier in Rio for a photo shoot for one of the papers in the UK for the World Cup, and he was just standing there. We're like, hey, Tom. He's like, hi, lads, what's going on? And it's just like, it's almost like reunion in the middle of this absolute war zone. Couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. So strange. We're like, what's going on here? He goes, yeah, it all kicked off. He's a reporter, so he's trying to get an idea of what's going on. He said, yeah, you just missed it, and it's been absolute chaos here. I'm like, bloody hell. So he said, yeah, just be careful, lads, make sure you look after yourselves and make sure you're getting in and out okay. So, okay, fair enough. Take that on board. But yeah, as we went into the stadium, chaos, carnage, people rushing through the gates. Yeah, it wasn't really safe, in my opinion. And we got to the game, and then notoriously the Russian fans charging England fans at the end. And it was about survival at the end of that, getting out of there to the train station and getting to Paris as quickly as possible. I think we had an overnight train maybe, and it was absolute survival. But in amongst chaos, carnage, bit of danger, there's also catching up with someone we knew from Rio. Unbelievable. And had a catch up, a couple of shakes of hands. Oh, just can't believe it. Just one of those weird moments. Yeah, so England tournaments are a mixed bag. You're going to get probably not too favourable looks because England fans have got a reputation, but the majority of England fans do all right. They're not trying to antagonise, they're trying to blend in, trying to meet locals, trying to be responsible, don't even drink that much, just enjoy the games. And unfortunately there is a small part of them that do ruin it for the rest of us. But they are filled with funny stories, awful stories, great football, awful football, and ultimately England not winning anything. You spend a couple of grand, have great fun, survive it, go back, tell the stories, and go and do another one. The next one we've got planned in the future is the 2026 World Cup in USA, Canada, Mexico. So we're really looking forward to that one. And I can't wait to get out there and see some games. So that's my second half of this episode for the sports travel portion. Try to chuck in a few stories, change it up a little bit. And I do love going to watch sport, maybe not as much as I used to, but it is part of my travels. And I do like to get people on to talk about it. And I do have a few episodes coming up this year talking about various parts of sports travel, not just football, maybe American sports too. So that should be good. I'll catch you for another solo episode in a few weeks. But of course, we roll on with the guest episode next Monday. Cheers. Hey, yeah, just a quick one. I just want to say there are many ways to support this podcast. You can buy me a coffee and help support the podcast with $5. Or you can go to my merch store with the affiliate link with TeePublic, where there's plenty of merch available to buy, such as t-shirts, jumpers, hoodies, and also some children's clothing. Thirdly, which is free, you can also rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, or Good Pods. Also, you can find me on social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Simply just search for Winging It Travel Podcast, and you'll find me displaying all my social media content for travelling, podcast, and other stuff. Thank you.